Thank you, Cindy, for the presentation. Good afternoon to everybody. Well, as you see from the screen, I'm going to make my presentation focusing on the potential business cases for the CCC implementation. And this presentation will be continuing the line that my colleague Mauro presented before me about the simulation of the different scenarios with CCCs. Because what we did in Success was to see how we can evaluate potential business cases, simulating scenarios for future construction projects in long-term basis, and see the potentially feasibility or not of these facilities. That we have to know that they are not a normal urban consolidation center. They serve a specific industry, which is the construction industry, and if they don't add value to that industry, they don't make sense by themselves. So we need to add value to the construction industry in order to make them a feasible business case for them. So just a brief presentation about Success. You know that we are targeting the improvement of the construction supply chain, and we are focusing on the implementation of the CCCs. In the beginning of the project, we had 4 pilot sites, one in each of the cities, targeting different type of construction project. One apartment building in Luxembourg, a big renovation building in Paris for the ministry, a big urban park in the city center of Valencia, and finally the renovation and construction of a new hospital, 2 hospitals in Verona. So we try to collect data from different construction projects in order to see if there are differences into the main characteristic of these sites, and see the potential benefits that the CCCs can bring to the different projects. Well, so the first step that we did was to identify the potential business models for the CCC implementation. We have to analyze and quantify the benefits of them and also the cost. And then one of the most difficult things was to allocate all these different cost and benefits to the different actors and the stakeholders of the construction supply chain. Because if we think in terms of savings, for instance, in the emissions, this brings benefits for the public authorities, but this doesn't affect directly the construction activity. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. We have to add really value to the construction activity if we want to make these kind of facilities profitable for the industry. So our methodology was to simulate these scenarios, and with these simulations, with the material flow that we get from the models that Mauro previously explained, we were able to dimension the facility, the operations in terms of labor force and machinery of the different CCCs that we simulated. With this, we also tried to estimate the income savings and the cost due to the CCC implementation that this facility could bring to the operations, and also to the operations in the construction site. And finally, we try to assess the long-term feasibility of the CCC. Well, most of you know how this works. This is the as-is situation for not only for the construction consolidation center, but also for the standard ones. So this is the situation for the city without and with the CCC concept or UCC concept. So with them, we try to decoupling the transport mode. So with this decoupling, we are able to use better or more greener and more sustainable vehicles from the CCC to the site. So this could bring important benefits in terms of emissions for the cities, but this doesn't affect really the industry. What the industry wants is to get performance improvements, to improve productivity on site, and this is what we try to get with these facilities. The assist situation for the construction company is delivering different trucks with different goods, and with the CCC, what we try is to merge all these goods, working just-in-time basis, to add benefits such as punctuality, flexibility, and also other operations such as kitting and repacking that can improve remarkably the productivity on the site. Because if we gather the materials in small bags and we deliver them to the site, we can improve the construction process as well. So what we did was to identify 2 main business cases for the CCC implementation. This is the first one, and in this first case, the construction company is the one that operates and promotes the CCC for one site or even for several ones. So it's the construction company that the one who decides to implement this facility in order to gain operational performance in the construction activity. With this system, the CCC is a cost for the company, but they try to compensate the extra cost of the CCC with the performance improvements and the operational performance on the construction activity. So in this business case, the construction company uses the CCC as a cost center and tries to balance the cost of this facility with the gains of the main activity of the construction company, which is to build buildings or any other kind of facility. So the methodology that we used for this business case was to use the simulation outputs and simulation inputs from the models that Mauro previously presented. And we dimension the facility, and with this dimensioning, we try to establish a cost structure in yearly basis. And then with the input data from the different construction projects, we try to obtain the potential savings that the CC could bring to the construction company in terms of productivity improvements on site. So with these two benefits and costs, we try to look for the balance and see in which cases this business case will be feasible or not in long-term basis. So here is a table summarizing the main results of this business case. As you can see, in the case of Luxembourg and in the case of Verona, in one of the scenarios that we simulated, because we simulated different scenarios, the CCC was not the feasible solution. And that's something important, because Ian told it yesterday. We have to know that not all the solutions are applicable in all the scenarios. There is a context that we have to know. And in some cases, maybe these solutions could be feasible, in some cases not. And we try to look for the best solution for our city, for the best solution for our context. And in some cases, maybe this CCC is not the solution. Maybe we can try to look for any other logistics solution, like implementing logistics team on site, like they did in the case of the Paris pilot. So there are several solutions to improve the supply chain of the construction industry, apart from the implementation of CCCs. The second business model is a business model in which the CCC is operated by a private operator, like in the case of the London CCC. It could be a logistic operator or a consortium of operators, whatever. And in this case, the CCC serves several sites of different companies, and the construction companies uses the services provided by the CCC. And in this case, what we did was to try to evaluate the financial feasibility of the CCC from the point of view of the logistic operator that promotes the CCC instead of the benefits from the part of the construction industry. So in this case, we see the CCC as a profit center because it serves the construction industry they paid for the services that they provide, and they have to balance the cost of running the CCC with the incomes from the construction companies. In this case, the methodology was similar, but instead of using the input data of the construction project, we only focused on the outputs of the simulation, the number of deliveries, number of materials stored in weekly basis, the number of trucks that we needed for the operations, and with them, again, we did the dimensioning of the facility, and we estimated the cost of this facility in yearly basis. And again, with the material flows that we get from the simulation models, we try to obtain potential revenues, trying to convert these flows into quantifiable units, such as pallets. So we try to establish different prices for the different services, such as palletized cargo, extra storage, working package, non-palletized cargo, express deliveries, off-peak deliveries, and so on. And again, we did our business case in this case was for the logistic operator in long-term basis. It was a period of 10 years. And in the case of Verona, again, it was not feasible because there were a lot of construction sites, more than 30 construction sites, but they didn't have enough deliveries per day to overcome the cost of the CCC. But I don't want you to focus on the result. It's just to know that this solution is not applicable in all the scenarios. It's just to remember that in some cases they will be feasible, in some cases they are not. And just for the general conclusions, CCCs could be an important solution, a feasible solution for the construction industry. Of course, they can, but they are not the solution. They are not applicable in all the cities, all the scenarios. It is important also to remark that the CCC has to add value to the construction supply chain, otherwise it doesn't make any sense, because to make a CCC is not an end goal. It doesn't make any sense to build just a CCC if the industry is not going to use it, or if the industry don't see the potential that the CCC brings to the supply chain. But it is important to know that the construction industry still has a lot of room to improvement in their supply chain, and well, there's an opportunity to make awareness of this kind of solutions. Again, there is another important conclusion, is that there is not a generic formula, a magic formula that will tell you that if the CCCs are feasible in general or not. So every project, every city will need another study. We need to be sure that which are the tasks of the construction activity in which we can really get important performance and productivity improvements on site. Otherwise, the industry will not use these facilities. We also have different approaches. On one side, we see that could be the industry the one who leads the implementation of these facilities. That's difficult, because this has to be a strategic decision for the company. Maybe a company that has in mind a large number of projects could see this solution as an important decision for the company in order to improve the logistic of the supply chain in a certain area, or could be a CCC as a service. But in this case, we are adding a new actor in the supply chain, and the companies and the construction companies need to adapt to this new paradigm. That is to add a new actor that has to also get money and not be bankrupt with this new paradigm. As I told you, CCCs are not applicable to all type of projects and scenarios. In the case of Valencia, we simulated the scenario 1, which is the pilot site with only the pilot site. The Valencia case was a big urban park, so most of the problems that the CCC solve are not applicable to the development of a park, because we don't lack in a space, the kitting and the productivity improvements maybe are not as high in this kind of construction such as in other ones. And another important fact is that the feasibility of these facilities depends really in the possibility to reach economies of scale. If we cannot reach an important amount of materials to delivery, you know that the construction industry is not a constant a constant demand. There are different phases in the project. In some phases, the materials can be routed through the CCC, in some phases not. So it is important to reach economies of scale in order to balance this difference in the demand. And also, the last is the difficulty to allocate the cost and benefits, especially so those benefits that are not really linked to the budget, such as the punctuality, flexibility. These are other kind of benefits that the CCC can provide to the industry, but are difficult to measure and quantify. And that's all. Thank you.